Brother and lads, welcome back to Cossy Podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is your preview. Arsenal take on FC Barcelona at 5:30 in the morning. I don't know if I will be awake, but we're going to be diving into the expectations from that game, what Barca pose as a threat, and also as a quality side, what Mikel Arteta needs to do, and what changes do I think Mikel Arteta needs to do in terms of the tactical setup, because against Manchester United, I kind of feel like Eric Ten Hag really beats him to the game. But in the comment box below, let me know what is your prediction. I would love to know, do you think Arsenal can comfortably beat Barcelona? A team that we definitely have to play in the UEFA Champions League at some point in time. I really have that feeling that we will play Barca in the group stages. But of course, you can let me know whether you think we can beat them, and whether you think we can actually be better than them in the quality of football. If you watched them last season, they are one of those progressive sides that are not yet there. So they have not yet gotten to that level of they are so good, but they are really progressive, just like Arsenal. They become better by every game. They are becoming better by every single day, right? We're also gonna be talking about why I think the counter-attack is going to be very crucial to this game, and the headers. Of course, Arsenal don't score as many headers as clubs like Burnley, as clubs like probably Bolton, but we will need some headers, that kind of physical presence in the penalty area if you're going to beat a team like Barca, and the transition. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well, and let's dive right in. So, I think the first thing to do is to dive into the expected lineup of FC Barcelona. I do expect them to go with their strongest lineup. Xavi has been one of those managers that really loves playing around with his lineup. So you can't anticipate what's going to put there. You really cannot anticipate how his 11 is going to look like. But at least we know the structure. We know the backbone of this team. New signings won't be a problem because they've not registered them. So I expect a very similar 11 to what he was fielding last campaign. Marc-Andre ter Stegen will be in goal, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, no question about that. I expect Araujo and Christensen to be at centre-back. Of course, Balde and Koundé will be playing as wing-backs, Koundé at the right-back and Balde at left-back. Frenkie de Jong, the new captain of FC Barcelona, will be in that number 6 to replace Sergio Busquets. Pedri, the metronome, and Gavi, the chaos creator in midfield. Rafinha on the right-hand side, Dembele on the left-hand side, and the best striker in the world, Robert Lewandowski. That is what I expect Barcelona to look like in the morning. I was about to say this evening, but it's going to be in the morning of tomorrow. And that's quite a very strong lineup. They do have some good players there. They do have some big names there, like ter Stegen is arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world, like top 5. Robert Lewandowski is arguably one of the best strikers we've seen in the last 20 years. He's definitely in that conversation. But then you have the likes of Frenkie de Jong, players that have not really proven to the levels that the world expects them to be at, but they're still very, very good. The likes of Pedri and the likes of Koundé. So one thing to expect from this Barca side, and one thing that they have actually done very well, is defensively they have been very, very solid. They don't give away so many goals. They don't give away silly goals. They don't just give you a chance through on goal. It's one of the reasons as to why they only conceded 20 goals last campaign in the Spanish La Liga. Actually, we could even argue that they could have conceded less. They could have conceded around 18 and below, if it wasn't for the fact that they won the league a little bit earlier on and Xavi relaxed in terms of the quality of the starting 11 that played in the last games. So we expect a Barca side that's going to really love possession. They're averaging at least 55% ball possession in games they're playing, especially with the weak opposition in Spain. At times, they have up to 67, up to 70, up to 80% ball possession. But of course, this is Arsenal. This is a very different side. We are a very strong side, and we're going to be a very different challenge. Despite the fact that Barca will be a different challenge to us, we will be a very different challenge and test to them as well. We love keeping the ball. We love stealing the ball, and we also love that kind of physical context. Not really to the levels of Manchester United in that game, where they really were too physical for a friendly. But again, Arsenal Premier League side, you expect them to be physical, you expect them to be a hard nut to crack. That is exactly what I'm trying to say. So it's going to be a high quality game, a game where tactically we're going to see two managers that have been under the same school. That is, FC Barcelona, La Masia, and Pep Guardiola. And I think the difference is Mikel Arteta got the chance to meet Johan Cruyff, and Xavi is a pure product of Pep Guardiola. But I think I cannot really regard Arteta as a Johan Cruyff product. I will regard him as a Pep Guardiola product. Right from the La Masia through the coaching processes at Manchester City. So two managers that have the same education, two managers that have the same, the same person mentoring them, and behind their success are going to be battling out tactically. So, and still, you expect to see the world's best players. I don't expect Arsenal and Barcelona to waste our time waking up at 5:30 and then they play their academies and they play their second sides. It would be purely disrespectful, right? So we're going to see the world's best players. Declan Rice, the most expensive English player to be bought ever. We're going to see the likes of Martin Odegaard, about 30 goal contributions last campaign. We're going to see Pedri, the best Spanish midfielder right now, still active. We're going to see the likes of Robert Lewandowski. We're going to see the likes of, it's going to be a contest of current world beaters and future world beaters, right? Because in the future, you expect Odegaard to be one of the best. If he doesn't drop off, you expect Saka to be one of the best if he doesn't drop off, and you expect the likes of Ramsdale, Saliba, to be at least at that level where we can say Arsenal have some world-class players. And of course, Barca are also just like Arsenal. In transition, they're just building their side. They're just building that squad. So you look at their average age, Pedri below 23, Gavi below 23, Balde below 23, Koundé below 23 as well. So they do have that mixture of young players, and that's what they're trying to do. Okay, so I think this is a game where Arsenal will not have a lot of possession. And I say this not because I undermine Arsenal, but because I know the principles and the education that FC Barcelona have instilled over the last 3 decades. That is 30 years. The education at Barcelona, whenever they've played, regardless of who has been manager, regardless of who has been, mentoring the side, their education has been the same. Their style of play has been the same. They concentrate on passing the ball neatly and effectively. So I expect them to do the same thing against Arsenal this coming morning. They will be very, very stingy with the ball. Of course, we will press them. We will bully them, but I expect them to have up to 55 or 56% ball possession more than Arsenal. Now, the other thing I expect in this game, especially from Arsenal, is that desire to bounce back. Now, Mikel did send the players out to train after the Manchester United game. I mean, it was more of those lessons, it was more of those messages to the fans where the manager goes, I think I've given you a lot of freedom. I've given you a lot of, I've given you a lot of joy, and now you're getting off track. Go out there after you're really tired. Your muscles are hurting. Go out there and train again. You're not good enough. You're not up to the standards of my team. And I really, really loved it. So I expect to see that extra hunger, that extra bit of wanting revenge, Arsenal coming out to create something on the reverse of what we did against Manchester United. So expect that. Expect a more hungrier Arsenal side. Expect an Arsenal side that is really going to be faster, quicker, but also more physical. So how do we get around this FC Barcelona side? I think I'm the right person to answer this question because I watched FC Barcelona most of the time last campaign as they won their first trophy, their first La Liga trophy under Xavi. Of course, it was, I think, their first trophy as well. Now, everything I've said about them is true. Everything I've told you about FC Barcelona is true. But not all of it I've said. So their weaknesses is what I've left out. And that is what Arsenal need to exploit in this game. And their key weaknesses are actually exploited, and we can see them in 3 fixtures last campaign. In the 2-2 draw, actually 3-3 draw against Inter Milan, in that humiliating defeat at the Camp Nou against Bayern Munich, and that humiliating defeat still against Real Madrid, I think it was in the Copa del Rey. Those are the 3 fixtures where Barcelona completely and utterly fell apart. So how do you go about them? How do you become better than them? How do you beat them? The first thing you have with Bayern, Madrid, and Inter Milan, those sides that actually picked up points against Barca, is physicality. So they have a problem. Gavi and Pedri are very, very technical, highly gifted players. They're smart. They're so good. They press well, but they don't have the physicality. It's like playing 2 Fabio Vieiras on the same pitch, right? And then the problem they still had is that Busquets is not a physical player. Busquets is literally, again, another technical player. So imagine playing Jorginho and 2 Fabio Vieiras on the same page. That is what Barca, look like in midfield. So if you want to beat them, you've got to bully them. So, for example, Bayern play with Joshua Kimmich. Kimmich is very physical, but then they also play with Goretzka in that midfield. That is a very physical pivot as compared to what Barca have. You look at Madrid with Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Cruz. Despite the fact that Cruz is older, Cruz is a much more physical player than any of the players at Barca, probably apart from Frenkie de Jong. And I'll talk about Frenkie because he's going to be a key player in this game. He can rip Arsenal apart, right? So, again, Madrid are very physical. When it comes to Inter Milan, it's a no-brainer. Literally, their whole team. One player that is not physical at Inter Milan, I don't know. I don't know one player that is not physical at Inter Milan. So look at that midfield of Marcelo Brozovic, Nicolo Barella, and the likes of Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan. Okay, Mkhitaryan is not a physical player. Maybe Mkhitaryan, but again, you don't bully him off the ball just like that. So physicality is going to be one key thing Arsenal have to offer in this game. Partey, Rice, Odegaard, that is a very good way to go. But I think Rice, Odegaard, and Kai Havertz is the best midfield partnership to go with. Why? Headers. So the other thing you have to know about FC Barca is that they do struggle in the air. They do struggle to fight, to defend set pieces. They do struggle to defend. If you put the ball in the air, if you put the ball up there, and it's about heading it away and into the back of the net, they will struggle. Not because their players are very short, but it's just because the way they play and their education and their system, that is not an area they give a lot of emphasis and focus to. I'm not saying they conceded so many goals out of headers, but that is a vulnerable area. The bad thing is that Arsenal are also very vulnerable when it comes to headers. Like, literally, I don't think we scored many goals with headers. I don't think we have so many players that we can target. That is why Kai Havertz is so key to this game. That is why Kai Havertz must start this game. Like, he must play. Why? He gives us that extra option of you can't beat Barca, by penetrating them. How about floating balls into the penalty area and have Kai Havertz, jumping onto them? I think the one way we are going to play in this game, and which is going to be kind of naturally put out there, is transition. And it's a game that's going to really prepare us for Man City. It's a game that will prepare us for Liverpool at the Anfield. I don't think Arsenal are at the level where we can dominate possession every single game we play in every campaign, in the whole campaign. So the only teams that I know can possess the ball up to 55% or 51% in every single game they play, I would say Man City. I would say Man City. Man City do have that. I think it's only Man City. I don't know any other team that have the capability of keeping hold of possession against any opposition, quality or low quality. So it means that in some games we'll have to sit back, we'll have to let the opponent come onto us, and we will have to use our transitions. You know why we are lucky? We have so many players, brilliant, clever, quick, speedy players to help us on the transition. Like, just imagine releasing Saka to run. Just imagine, releasing Martinelli to run. Just imagine playing that ball into space for Kai Havertz. And that is, again, another upgrade of Kai Havertz on Granit Xhaka. Like, of course, people will pick on him. Like, Kai is a very, very much better player on the transition than Xhaka. Why? He's got the speed. He's light. He's small, so he can run, right? And I think I was doing my analysis on where actually Kai will play, if you've watched that video. And we saw a clip of him running as Bayer Leverkusen were on the transition. So that is something Arsenal will get, because Odegaard is not... He's not your runner, come on, okay? He does run, but is he a quick runner? I don't think. He loves to slow down space, freeze time, and then, just act. Messi Ozil part 2. So still, the transitions and the counterattacks are going to be very, very crucial to our game. But for me, it's going to be about the physicality. If we can add that kind of physicality to the game, Barca will be in much trouble, right? I think Rice alone can destabilize that midfield, unless they play Frank Kessie, because Kessie has that kind of... He's got the education from the Italian Serie A, and we know how how physical the Serie A is. So if he plays Frankie de Jong and Kessie, it literally means that you have two players that can complement each other. Kessie is physical, de Jong is so technical. But I don't think he will play both of them. I think he will play one of them, and in the second half, we might see an introduction of Kessie over maybe Gavi. But I still expect Arsenal to win this one, like 2-1. I expect us to bounce back as we prepare for Monaco and the big boys, Manchester City, in the Community Shield.